Or not. Okay, there we go. All right, so for 4-3, we are solving inequalities today, which we've done a little bit of. I heard somebody say, like, this looks like just what we've been doing. Kind of is. So we're going to be solving inequalities using the addition and multiplication properties of inequality, which we use the addition and multiplication properties of equality when we solved equations. We're going to simplify them using the distributive property and combining like terms. You've already done that with equations. And we're going to solve word problems involving multi-step inequalities. What is the one thing that we practiced even in enrichment math that we have to remember about inequalities? When do you flip the sign? When the variable's negative. Well. When the variable's on the opposite. Oh, yeah, that's true. When the variable's not in front of your number. Well, that's when you rewrite it. That's called rewriting it. When do we actually have to flip the inequality sign? When you multiply or divide by a negative number, right? So multiply or divide by a negative number. Okay, this is going to be huge for you to remember and apply. That's the biggest difference between equations and equalities, or inequalities, pardon me. All right, so solving inequalities with more than one operation. We're going to undo the operations done to the variable using inverse operations in reverse order. It's just like balancing an equation or doing that teeter-totter we talked about. Okay, and then remember to flip the inequality symbol when you multiply or divide by a negative number. Cannot stress that enough. Okay, so let's jump in. Example 1, 3a. Hayden, let's have you do this one.
We subtract 5 from both sides.
Okay.
Which would give us 3x is greater than 15.
Okay.
Then we divide by 3 on both sides.
Was that a negative number?
No.
No, so we're good. We get to keep this sign.
So then x is greater than.
Perfect. All right, Junior, how about B?
That's 6 to both sides. Which is 2x is greater than or equal to negative 2. No. 10.
Okay.
Then you
Divide by 2.
X
Is that a negative number?
No.
Nope, so we get to keep our sign.
X is greater than or equal to 5.
X is greater than or equal to 5. Perfect. All right. And C. Good. The negative 3y? Okay. Did you multiply or divide by a negative number? Okay. So we keep the sign. Good. Okay. Divide by negative 3 on both sides. Okay, is that a negative number?
Yes.
Good, so this time we flip the sign. Perfect. Negative 6 or positive 6? Okay, sorry, I just didn't hear you. Yes, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So y is less than or equal to 6. Was that, like, very difficult?
Nope.
Because you've been doing equations all this time. The most difficult one was C, right? We put Ann in the hot seat because it had the negative. You're welcome. Happy to oblige. I like putting people in the hot seat. You've noticed? Good. Okay, example 2. Then, let's go back to Hayden.
Subtract 8 from both sides.
Subtract 8 from both sides.
Would be 4.
which would be 4 over. Okay, so give me the whole thing.
So negative x over 3 is greater than or equal to.
Okay, perfect.
And then
Would you
Okay, it's Hayden's turn.
negative I multiply x over negative x over 3 on both sides.
Okay, but so what are you going to multiply by? Because this is a fraction. Well, right, but then that's multiplying by x, and you're just going to have x on the other side. Because you know, we talked about this too earlier today. Fractions, which is what we have here, are also what? Division. So think about this as x divided by, instead of x over 3, x divided by 3. How do we undo division? Multiplication. So what are we going to multiply by? 3? Okay. Was that a negative number? No. So we get to keep our sign.
So it'd be negative x is greater than or equal to.
Okay.
And then you have a negative.
I have a negative x. Well, what do I need to do? I can't just flip the sign. I need to do the math. Okay, if I divide by 1 on both sides, what's negative x divided by 1? Still negative x. No, division's fine, but what do I need to divide by? A negative 1, right? The negative 1 on both sides. There you go. Okay, did I divide by a negative number?
Oh, yeah, so you have to flip the sign so it's less than or equal to.
Okay, good.
Negative.
Good. So x is less than or equal to negative 12. Good. Very good. Now, you could have also at this step, okay, you could have multiplied by negative 3 here. Flipped your sign. Had x 4 times negative 3 would have been negative 12. You could have also taken that step too if you chose to put the negative with the 3. Okay, not wrong either way. Just letting you know. All right, Junior, your turn.
You add 2 to both sides.
Perfect. Let me go back here to blue. So we add 2 to both sides.
So x over 8 is less than or equal to 2. And then you divide by.
This is being divided by 8. So what you want to do is multiply by 8 on both sides. Good. You got it. Okay. Questions about those? Are you ready for A? Well, actually, number 3. All right. So this one, 3 and 4. Okay, we're going to add in some distributing there, some combining like terms. Okay. Again, the only thing that's changing is the inequality. Everything else is the same. I tell you what, since you think it's hard, Anne, what color would you like me to do?
Purple.
I'll let you pick the color.
Ew, that's boring.
Shh. You guess you can do purple. Okay. All right. So how would you start it, Anne? Distributing. What are you distributing? The 3 to the 2, which is 6. Yeah, you're going to distribute the negative 3. Remember, take the sign in front of it. Good. So 4x minus 6.
Plus negative 6x.
Okay.
Is greater than 10. Junior, be quiet. Then add the like terms.
Yeah, add your like terms, right? We got a 4x here, a negative 6x here.
Which would be negative 2x.
Okay, -6 and plus -6 are the same thing, so you're okay. Okay, good.
Subtract 10 on both. Add 6 on both sides.
Good.
Which gives you -2x is greater than 16.
Whoa, cool. Oh no, I messed up, sorry.
16, bullhead.
No name calling.
And then divide -2 on both sides? No. Yeah.
Okay, did you divide by a positive or a negative?
Negative. So flip the sign to less than.
All right, good.
Which would be -8.
So x is less than -8. Perfection. Very good. Very, very good.
You know, I think there were multiple times I was doubting myself on there, and you're like, yeah, that's fine. That's good.
Yeah, yeah. All right, what color do you want, Hayden?
Blue.
Okay, let's do it.
So greater x plus 4 is greater than or equal to 5x plus 30 minus 2x.
Okay, good.
Then you could add the like terms.
Okay, so what are my like terms?
5x minus 2x.
Good.
Which is 3x plus 30. And then you're greater than or equal to, and then x plus 4.
Plus 4.
Then you could subtract, no.
Ooh, now we have a variable on both sides, right? We have an x here and an x here.
I know.
Hold on. Hayden knows what to do.
I do?
Yeah, you do.
Yes, you do.
We've done this on equations. You know what to do. You got this.
Come on, bud. Let's go.
Subtract, no.
We ain't got all day.
Shh. Give him a minute.
Subtract x.
Subtract x from both sides. Good choice.
Which should be positive 4 is greater than or equal to 2x plus 30. And then subtract 30 from both sides. Which would be -26 on that side is greater than or equal to 2x. Then you divide by 2 on both sides, which gives you, but then you have to flip your sign.
Did you divide by a negative number?
Nope.
Then you don't flip the sign. It's okay to have a negative answer, but you divide it by a positive here.
So it would be -13 is greater than or equal to x.
Perfect. Now, if we were graphing this,
You'd have to flip it.
we'd want to rewrite it, right? And so if we rewrote it, we would have x is what?
Less than or
equal to
-13.
Perfect. Okay. So if we were graphing, we would want to rewrite it so we had our variable first, so it'd be easier to graph. I won't erase. You're good. I will pause our recording here. All right, then let's go to the back. Yeah, right, just one more. Woohoo! All right, example 5. Jeffrey wants to fence in a rectangular garden and has up to 60 feet of fence available. If the width must be 5 feet more than half the length, what are the possible dimensions of the garden? Whoopee, is that what I heard? Okay, so I laid a few things out here for you. Define variables and terms. List out some needed formulas, and then write your inequality and solve. Okay, so let's look back at this. Jeffrey wants to fence in a rectangular garden, has up to 60 feet of fencing. If the width, okay, so the width must be 5 feet more than half the length. What are the possible dimensions of the garden? Okay, so when we're talking about this, what formulas, what things are we using? You want to come in? Okay, so what where we left off is when we talk about like needed formulas. If we skip down to here, like let's process through what formula or what are we talking about to put a fence around a rectangular garden? Perimeter. Good. Okay, so what is the formula for perimeter? Length. You can answer too. Feel free, August.
You add all the sides together.
We add all the sides together, so what would that be?
Length plus length plus width plus width.
Sure.
Or length times 2 plus width times 2.
Yep. Either one of those would work. Okay. So that is what we're talking about, right? We've got this rectangular garden. Okay, so we've got a rectangular garden, and we have up to 60 feet of fence available. So how about we move on to the next part? The width must be 5 more than half the length. This is getting into this defining terms and variables part. Okay, the length must be, or the width must be 5 more than half the length. So what will we do there? What do we know about our width? Oh. Okay, so 5 more than. What's more than? Plus would be addition. So we have 5 plus 5 more than half the length. What's half? Divided by 2. Okay, so we're doing half the length. So what are we dividing by 2? The 60 feet is our perimeter. We have 60 feet of fencing first. What'd you say? The length. Okay, so we have the length divided by 2. Or you could say 1/2 the length. Either of those is the same thing, would work. Okay, so we've defined our width. It's 5 more than half the length, or the length divided by 2. Great. What other variable do we have to define, or term? Because here's the thing, we don't have to use all of these. We just have to define them. We know for perimeter, what 2 things do we need for perimeter? The length and the width. Well, we defined the width, so what else do we need to define? The length. What is the length? Would it be the 60 feet? I don't know. Okay, so let's go. If you're curious about that, what is the 60 feet telling us?
How much feet of fencing?
How much is available? So what can be 60? Like we talked about this. We now have width, we have length, and we have perimeter. What could be 60? The perimeter could be 60, right? It says we have up to 60 feet. So we're working on inequality. So what inequality would we write? Okay, the perimeter has to be less than or equal to the 60 feet. So that's where the 60 goes. Do we know how long the length is? No, we don't. We just know that L is the length, but that's okay because our width, just like we did in the went over on the problems earlier, the width is defined in terms of the length already. So we're going to use the same variable. Right? You're like, what? Mrs. Talbert, I hate this. Okay, but we started simple. Like even writing this part, again, is just like what we taught, like when we went over the problems from last night. Start simple. We know our perimeter has to be less than or equal to 60. We know the formula for perimeter. Which one of these do you want to use? The length plus the width plus the width, or 2L plus 2W? 2L plus 2W. Okay, so let's use this. So we know the perimeter is 2L plus 2W. So we need to say, okay, well, 2L plus 2W has to be less than or equal to 60 then. Do you understand how we're combining them? because we started simple. Our perimeter has to be less than 60, less than or equal to. We know our perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width is less than less than or equal to 60. Then what?
Once you add your width with the 2W.
At which width? What do you mean by add?
5 plus L.
Yeah, we need to put this 5 plus L divided by 2 in for our width. So 2L plus 2 times that quantity, 5 plus L divided by 2, is less than or equal to 60. So start small, start simple, and then get more complex each time with what you're plugging in. Good. All right, then I'm going to change up colors so we can solve it. Give you a minute to get it written down. All right, Junior, is it your turn to start us? I already used purple, so what color do you want for your solution? I picked green, but I'll go with whatever you want. Pink. All right, let's do it.
You have to distribute what's inside parentheses.
Okay, what are you going to distribute?
2
Yeah, the positive 2. Okay, so I'm going to have 2L
plus 2 plus
right? So we have, yeah, that'd be 2 over 2. L, well, what's 2 over 2? 1. So we could just put L here. Perfect, is less than or equal to 60. All right. You going to keep going? It's your turn. Good.
I add your like term, which is 3L
Okay, so we're adding our like terms, which would give us 3L.
plus 2 equals 60. And then you subtract 2 from both sides. 3L is less than or equal to 50. And divide both sides by 3, which is
16.66666.
Don't give me that decimal nonsense.
16.6.
Okay, don't give me a decimal. That's a decimal. It's still a decimal. Don't give me a decimal.
17. But round up to 17.
I don't care about rounding. Give me a fraction. Give me a mixed number. 16 and 2/3. There we go. Okay, so what are the possible dimensions? We need to go back to this question. What are the possible dimensions of the garden? What does dimensions mean?
Like
Isn't it
how long the sides are.
Yeah, how long the sides are, the length and the width. So, what are my possible dimensions? The length is what? 16 and 2/3 feet. Okay, so the length is less than or equal to 16 and 2/3 feet. So what about what's the other dimension? Width. Okay, and what would width be? Oh, it's 5 more than half the length. So it's going to be 5 more than 16 and 2/3 divided by 2.
Can't you divide first and then add?
Can't you divide first? No, that's what you should do. You should do 16 and 2/3 divided by 2. Okay, so do 16. Hit your fraction button. The A, B, C. 2. And then your fraction button. And 3. Okay, and then divided by 2. It'll give you 8 1/3.
What?
And then plus 5.
13 1/3.
That what you got?
Yeah, 13.
13.
Okay, all you did was divide by 2. You didn't do the plus 5 part. She went ahead and did the plus 5.
Oh.
So add 5 to that. All right, so our width would be less than or equal to 13 1/3 feet. What if I told you you could only give me that measurement in feet and inches instead of 16 2/3 feet?
It'd be 13 and 4.
13 feet 4 inches. Good. So we've got 13 feet 4 inches for the width. And what would the length be?
16 feet and 8 inches.
Excellent. 16 feet 8 inches. Perfect. Very nice work.